and suddenly I just fell down right on the floor for no apparent reason. So what's going on? I get back up, take 2 more steps, and I fall down again, and I couldn't get up again. And it was like my life experience just flashed through my eyes. I began to see who was real and who was not. It's like as if God uncovered everything.
Welcome to the Juggling Life Finding Balance podcast. I'm your host, Vivian Cumins, and I am so excited to introduce y'all to my guest today, Camille Gallinger. After overcoming chronic asthma and fatigue, Camille began a career as a nutritionist. And although she has enjoyed good health for many years, Camille says she experienced a setback in her physical health after unexpected and heartbreaking adversities. These events, she says, pushed her to seek godly wisdom and understanding rather than just knowledge. Camille then set out to restore not only her health, but her vitality, which she personally describes as energy, joy, and momentum. Today, she's not only a nutritionist, but she's also a vitality coach where she helps clients address the importance of bravely setting boundaries, discerning toxic personalities and relationships, and making healthy mindset shifts away from toxic thinking. We are going to talk about all of this and more. So settle in and let's get started. Well, hello, Camille. How are you doing today?
Hi, Vivian. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. It is raining here in California, and it is much needed, but it is it's kind of starting to flood a little bit out there. So praying for those who are in the path of these floods.
Absolutely. Well, we just went through a windstorm here in Washington State. I'm in Seattle, so a lot of people are without power.
Oh my
We'll
goodness.
be back on Sunday. This time it didn't touch us, but you might see things go in and out. But yeah, we went through a pretty bad windstorm.
Oh my gosh, there's things going on all over the place. So, oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad your internet is up. So is mine. Praise God. We're just gonna plow through this today.
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today. What an honor it is to get to know you a little bit. So we've had a chance to talk, but our listeners, that are tuning in today may not know a lot about you. So would you please take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself and your vitality coaching practice?
Okay. Well, like I said, I live here in Seattle, Washington. I have my own business where I provide nutrition counseling and vitality coaching. I really focus a lot on vitality coaching, and that is helping people set boundaries, have healthier mindsets, and understand relationships, all in an effort to take care of themselves. You've heard the term self-care. Well, I usually call it courageous self-care because the people I work with are people who are living on the sidelines. They've been hurt a lot. And so they've just kind of checked out of life. So I give them a clarion call to come off the sidelines, make them feel supported so they can learn how to be savvier about people, about thinking, so they can come back into living with vitality, which I define as energy, joy, and momentum. So that's what I do in my practice. In my personal life, I'm a mother, a grandee to 3 grand princesses, and a prayer team leader who likes to encourage people a lot.
I love that. So is that what your grandkids call you, is grandee?
They call me grandee.
I love that. So I'm glammy. And so my daughter came up with it. Glamorous granny is what that stands for. And I thought, well, that's too fun.
I love that.
You know, you talk about the self-care, the courageous self-care. And, you know, for me, part of my testimony, part of my ministry is what God showed me back in 2020 when I rededicated my life and surrendered to Him, was that if you do these 3 things, your life will be balanced. And that's put me first, put God first, self-care, and have fun. And so self-care is that second pillar that I've been living my life on. And so I'm really excited to dive into more. I've got lots of questions here. So I'm just going to start throwing them at you if that's okay.
Hi, that's fine.
All right. Well, this season we're talking about balance in relationships, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about unhealthy friendships. And so, you and I previously talked about toxic friendships. Could you share with us what makes a friendship toxic?
Yeah. So, one of the first things that makes a friendship toxic is the lack of mutual respect and mutual honor. So, let's say, for instance, we have a person who, unbeknownst to you, is very disgruntled and dissatisfied with their life. And maybe they have a lot of anger inside of them. So, when they are connected to you, they might see something that they think is happening really good, something good happening in your life. And they're angry about that. They don't tell you, but they began to express it. And they express it in really unhealthy ways, such as making you look bad or discrediting you, embarrassing you, or telling your secrets, betraying your confidence because they're acting out of their bitterness or their anger. But then they call themselves your friend, but they're not doing really friendly things towards you. And it begins to get very toxic because it hurts you, it hurts your soul. And again, that person's usually acting out of their bitterness. And I know you've probably heard the term hurt people, but I don't really like that term so much. I'd rather say hurt people choose to hurt people, because after a while, when you've done it quite a bit, you're actually choosing to hurt that person, even if that person hasn't done you any harm. So it is toxic because it affects your emotions, it affects your mentality, and it can even affect you physically, just the pain caused from that toxic relationship.
You know, I think you could also expand that to family members, couldn't you?
Yes, yes, you absolutely can. Because if a person has a wound, and a lot of us, we've all been hurt, but if a person, even your own family member, doesn't handle that wound in a healthy way, that wound is still seeping
Mm-hmm.
and it's becoming infected. It's becoming toxic, and they're putting that on everyone. So you could have a sister, you could even have a spouse who's really unhealthy in relationship with you. It can absolutely include family.
Yeah. And I'm looking back on my life, and I've met a lot of people over the 52 years, and we were prior military, so we've lived everywhere. So I've had lots of friendships, and looking back on those friendships, now that you've kind of explained what that is, I can kind of pinpoint there was a couple back in the day that were toxic, but I don't think I knew that. And as a Christian woman, I think sometimes I tend to give people free passes. When they're not so friendly, it's like, well, okay, but I'm a Christian, so I'll just forgive them and let them treat me this way, right?
Yeah, I did that as well. And that was one of the really big things God had to teach me because number one, I was really hasty in wanting to be friends with this person and wanting to be a blessing, especially with people who were in the church. I wouldn't try to vet them. I didn't really judge their fruits. I'd just be friends, and I didn't pay attention. I did not pay attention to the cues. I didn't even think about the possibility when the Bible's full of warnings on how to determine friends, what to look for. But I was so hasty. God can let me go on with that because if I had something really big he had to trust me with, I'd lose
You
it.
said something there that I think is interesting. You said I didn't vet them.
Yeah.
You and I were just having a conversation
Yeah.
about something similar. And I've never vetted friends either. People that are coming into my life, I've never vetted them, but I think I'm the older that I'm getting and the closer that I get to God and the more that I want to just serve him and be, in his presence and be a witness for him. I think I'm starting to do that more. So explain what that means to you, the vetting of a friendship.
Okay, well, I'll start off with a confession. Okay. There was a person I wanted to be friends with. She was in the church, and I wanted to support her ministry, everything. And God specifically told me, wait and pray first. Wait, pray first. I didn't want to wait. I was so eager. She's this position at the church. Of course, she's wonderful. And even when I started talking to her, it wasn't even a week, and she was referring to me as friend, her good friend. That should have been my first clue because she didn't even know me.
Yeah.
I didn't pray to to see what was hidden. I didn't pay attention. I wasn't vigilant or on the alert. I didn't pay attention to what she was saying. Sometimes it would be insults. I just automatically gave her a very precious treasure, and that was trust. I just gave her the trust without having her earn the trust because I just assumed she was probably better than I was. I didn't, as the Bible says, judge her by her fruit. And there were some issues, and other people had said there were issues, but I guess my head was in the clouds at that time. And so that cost me a lot. It hurt me a lot, sent me to the sidelines. But that's how vitality coaching was born, because once God healed me, then I could teach other people how to look for certain things in friends.
Oh, that is really good. Yeah, I have found the older that I get, the less friends that I have.
Yeah.
And what is that saying that you only have like maybe three good friends in your life? Is that
Yeah,
true?
you're very, very fortunate, very blessed if you even have two or three good friends.
Oh
And these are
my.
people I call supporters, true supporters. They're healed and they truly love you and they truly care about you.
So, how do toxic friendships and unhealthy attachments negatively impact our physical and our emotional health?
So with your physical health, I mean, just think about the stress that you go through when you find out someone has betrayed your confidences and made you look really bad. Or think about the stress when someone has insulted you in front of a lot of people and then they cover it with a phrase like, oh, I was just joking. That's stressful. It goes straight to your adrenal glands. Those little walnut-shaped glands that sit on top of your kidneys that give you your fight or flight response, your cortisol and epinephrine. When those adrenals are worn out because of all the stress, you're suddenly very tired and you experience this debilitating fatigue. And because those adrenal glands are so compromised, your immune system isn't even strong anymore. You might find yourself catching colds a lot easier. You might find yourself being sick longer than what you should be because it's hard for you to get well because of the stress. So it affects your immune system. And you might even, if you're prone to it, you might even have nightmares and your sleep is interrupted. And that's horrible because if our sleep is interrupted, we're not so insulin sensitive. We don't have the energy and so on. Emotionally and mentally, of course, it makes it harder to handle the stress, and you might find yourself being very depressed, and the worst, not having a lot of hope. You might suddenly find yourself hopeless, and that is how a lot of people in vitality coaching find themselves hopeless and suddenly wanting to put up walls and becoming isolated because they don't want to be hurt again. The dominant emotion that takes over is fear, a lot of fear. And this isn't just women. This is men too. Men that look as if they are just the most confident. But in vitality coaching, they might tell me, oh, I had this friend. I thought we were friends, but he dumped me because he wanted to be friends with the neighbor because he could get him up higher on the level. So they're afraid to go out. So they're always in their man cave or something, or they make excuses for things. And that fear is no way to live. That's why I define vitality as energy, joy, and momentum. We want to get that joy back.
Right. You talked a little bit about the adrenal fatigue and stuff. I know that you've got a lot of wisdom when it comes to that. And just really quick, can I ask you back for another episode next season when we start talking about wellness?
Oh, I would love to. Yes, yes. I would love to talk about wellness and adrenals and immune system.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure we get that scheduled. But I'm wondering, when you were talking about that, have you had an experience with that? I mean, what was a turning point or a wake up call for you?
Yeah, a wake up call. I definitely have had experiences with that. Well, first of all, I began nutrition because I was so sick with asthma. I was always in the hospital, always in ER. I couldn't breathe very well. I had too much fatigue. So I learned the principles of nutrition, went to school, and I actually healed myself. So I really didn't have asthma anymore. So I was so happy to have my health back. But I lost my health again when I was with toxic friends. And my husband tried to warn me because he actually has the gift of discernment. I did not. And I would always tell him, no, you're wrong. Don't you know who that is? Finally, everything just came down. And I realized they weren't, and I had been set up and sabotaged a lot. So I was in my bedroom, really sad, and suddenly I just fell down right on the floor for no apparent reason. So what's going on? I get back up, take 2 more steps, and I fall down again, and I couldn't get up. And I'm in my 50s like you. And I called, well, at that time I was in my early 40s. And my husband had to come in and massage my back just so I'd be able to get up again. And it was like my life experience just flashed through my eyes. I began to see who was real and who was not. It's like as if God uncovered everything. And it really did. It hurt me so much with some of those people I had done good to. I had helped them. I had worked to be a blessing. You know, I had kept their secrets. They had not kept mine. And the realization of that really, really hurt. And I didn't want to go to church anymore. I didn't want to do any of that. But God taught me, number one, how to make him and him alone my hope, how to have my hope in him. He taught me how to be much more savvy, how to notice things about people. As a matter of fact, his word to me was be vigilant, be vigilant. He showed me, again, how people could act out of their anger and take things out on you. And their behavior was more about them than about you. And I would always try to say, well, I just want to tell them, I want to be logical. And that's what I learned. People don't see you as you are. People see you as they are. So it was a huge, huge wake-up call to stop being so hasty, stop taking things for granted, don't automatically give people your trust. You're really not supposed to trust anyone. You just trust God. But to just really slow down, pause, pay attention.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. That's so scary. You know, I had a moment similar, not similar, but I had that one of those days where I was on my living room floor too. That was that was when I had a breakdown, and just said, you know, but it was mostly it was physical too, but it was mostly mental and spiritual. But I've had one of those on the floor moments. Those are rough.
Any trial or tribulation, it's really hard. And when it affects your physical body along with your emotions and your mentality, it's tough. But as usual, God can bring you right out of it and bring something really good out of it.
Yes.
Really good.
Yes. So why do you think relationships become unhealthy in the first place? Maybe they start off that way. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, sometimes, they do start off that way. Sometimes people can be filled with so much hurt and pain that it becomes anger. And then it can go from anger to rage. There's a verse in the Bible I like very much. It's Proverbs 22:24-25. And it says, make no friendship with an angry man. With a furious man, do not go. So when a person has a lot of rage, they try to hide it, but it comes out in their actions. So maybe you're their friend, you think they're a friend of yours, but they see some value in you because usually they want to use you or use what you have. So they end up stealing your ideas maybe, or they end up slandering you, or they might end up just betraying you, but then acting as if they didn't do it. So when they hold on to that rage, and that's different from anger, it's toxic and unhealthy, and you're probably going to be the recipient of that. Then we have some people who are just, maybe they don't have rage, but they are very dissatisfied with their own life. And these are the people who have a lot of jealousy and envy. And you might not have done them any harm, but they're jealous because you've got a podcast, or they're jealous, because, you live in a great place, and they said, that should be me. So they set you up a lot. They lie to you a lot. Their job is to make you think that they're your friend, and they will keep things private for you, but they're always in competition with you. They always have to one up you. It just never ends. And then there's another type of person who is a very fearful person. And if you're alone with that person, everything is good. They're your friend. But when you're in a bad situation, you think that person is going to be there for you, speak up for you, and they have nothing to say. They're very quiet. They to me, it's like the person who lets you sink in quicksand. They do absolutely nothing. I call them spectators. Yeah. Yeah, and it's very different from the supportive type of friend I'm talking about. A real friend is a supporter, but that type of friend, they're dangerous because you never know if they're going to be there when you really need them. And most of the time, they're not there. They might not have rage against you. They might not try to set you up in life, but they won't be there for you, even though they'll tell you in private. But when it really counts, they won't be there for you.
Well, and I suspect that's where this courageous self-care comes in. You talk about that. We talked a little bit about that in the intro too, but can you expand a little bit about what that courageous self-care is and how it relates to what you just explained?
Yeah. So once you find out how a person really is and their motives towards you, you have to have the courage to either set the boundaries or make a necessary ending. And that's not easy because you're thinking, oh, well, maybe it's just me, or what would my other friends think, or I don't want to hurt her feelings, or that's not very Christian. And you kind of struggle with it and you stay and you keep getting hurt. You keep your physical body continues to be attacked. That happened with me when I call her a frenemy. She's a friend and an enemy, but she was also a prayer partner. But what I found was that some of the things we were praying about or that I would be talking to her about in my personal life, suddenly everyone at the hair salon knew. Every groups of friends, she was telling everything, and it got so bad. And also, she would make certain insults towards me, things that were very demeaning. She would attack my dignity. And it was so hard for me to just break it up. I knew I needed to break it up. God told me I needed to break that up, not
Mm.
be unforgiving, not hold a grudge, but that needed to end. And I back then I was just so scared. And I think I ended up leaving a voice message saying, we just can't do this anymore. But I finally jumped up the courage and I did it. And because I did it, in about maybe 3 months, another friend came into my life. And she's been my prayer partner for about 8 years now. And
Oh.
she's a real, real friend, someone you can be transparent with, someone who's not
Mhm.
trying to one up you all the time, who's not jealous. We support each other. There's mutual respect, mutual honor there.
Oh, that's beautiful. You mentioned a word that kind of struck me for a second, and I'd love for you to explain it a little bit more. You said dignity. How is that in relation to courageous self care?
Well, I find that attacking a person's dignity is one of the tools that a person will use when they want to bring you down. We're supposed to honor one another, support one another. But let's say you didn't do any harm to me, but I devalue you. My body language devalues you. My conversations devalue you. The things I slander you about, it devalues you. I absolutely attack your dignity. And, our dignity, we are children of God. We are, when we're saved and born again, we're children of the King. We're a friend of Jesus. We have a certain dignity just because of that. And so when someone decides, maybe they say, well, I can't find any dirt on her, I'm just going to attack her dignity, maybe attack her class, maybe attack her status, maybe attack where she lives, whatever. Oh, she lives in a super, super small house, so I'm going to make this a big deal. I'm attacking your dignity. It's very unhealthy, and it's something you should not tolerate. People attacking your dignity. It's just another way of taking your energy away from you and devaluing you. So you'll just go away or destroy you, or they can one up you.
I mean, I'm having a hard time understanding the like if a person is like that, why are they friends with you then? Right? Do you see what I mean? Like if they're tearing you down all the time, it doesn't sound like they like you very much. So what's in it for them to even be in this relationship in the first place?
Yeah. So it depends on what type of frenemy they are. So with the one I was telling you about, the one who makes an effort to make you think she's your friend, she or he actually sees value in you. So for instance, maybe you're a person who definitely will not divulge secrets. Well, this person knows you won't divulge secrets. They'll establish that. But this person's full of turmoil, so she needs someone to talk to, and she knows she can count on you. She knows you won't go anywhere with her secrets, but she's going to go somewhere with your secrets.
Oh
She's going
boy.
to
Oh
tell.
boy.
Yeah, but she sees value in you because you're a safe place. Or, you can help someone or they see it, that if they're attached to you, they can go higher in life, or you can give them ideas. They can take your ideas and they can go higher in life. That's why someone who loves money, the love of money is the root of all evil. So that's another clue. If you see someone who loves money and power, and they might see something you have that they don't, they're going to be with you long enough to get it, use it, and go. I sometimes with clients use that Greek myth about the scorpion and the frog. Do you remember that?
I think so, but would you share it for our listeners and those watching?
Yeah, just kind of a loose retelling of it. The scorpion had to get to the other side of the island, and he couldn't because he really couldn't swim, but the frog could. And he asked the frog, "You let me get on your back so I could get to the other side." And the frog would say, "No, why should I do that? You're just going to kill me. You'll sting me and kill me." What? The scorpion said, "Well, why would I do that? I mean, because if I sting you, you'll die. We'll both die. No way." And he thought about it. He didn't really bet him. He didn't think about it. He said, "Okay, sure. I'm just going to be nice. You come on and get on my back." So the scorpion gets on his back. The frog is going across the lake. And each time he could kind of feel the scorpion inching up on him a little bit more. And he's thinking, but it's okay because I'm helping him. I'm being so compassionate. And then he feels an awful sting, a horrible sting. And his body starts to stiffen up. And he says, "Wait, I did this for you. I trusted you. Why did you do that?" And the scorpion said, "Hey, you knew my nature when I got on your back." And that always happens to a scorpion or a person who sets out to destroy you. That comes back to them. They get destroyed, or something very dear to them gets destroyed.
Ugh. Yeah, I've heard that scenario a couple of times, and it's like, yeah, you knew I was a scorpion. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why it's so important, that vetting. I'm really taking that home with me tonight because it's like that vetting. That's really good.
yeah, that's just the word I use. And, the Bible talks about this a lot. One of the verses I like refers to certain people as schemers. And it's no good for us to pretend as if it doesn't exist. Maybe it hasn't happened to you, but it does happen to a lot of people. I know I have an entire caseload of people because of it. But Proverbs 24:8, for instance, says, "Whoever plans to do evil will be called a schemer." Or Proverbs 10:18, "The one who conceals hatred has lying lips, and whoever utters slander is a fool." So we're told to stay away from those who slander, and we're not supposed to slander. But the frenemy person will act as if they are your friend, but the next thing you know, you find out they're slandering you. They're hiding their hatred, they're hiding their anger. And we need to be vigilant enough to see this. And once we see it, we need to be strong enough to put up certain boundaries, but always staying clean. Don't let bitterness and unforgiveness stay inside of you. Try to avoid that. And just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you're intimate with them again, because you don't trust them. Forgiveness does not equate trust. So these are ways that we take care of ourselves, that we're smart about how close we might allow someone to be.
We kind of touched on it earlier, but if we could circle back around. So for the woman that's listening to this and they're like, I'm in that situation. I have a frenemy, someone who's exhibiting some of these characteristics, but I'm a Christian, and how can I sever that relationship and still, you know, do it in a way that's Christian like?
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm even wording
Yeah,
this right. But it's very hard to cut a relationship because we are called to love and we are called to have community. So how do we cut this relationship off?
yeah, it's very hard. The first thing you want to do, honestly, is pray for them, and you want to pray for yourself. You want to ask God to search your heart first, as such. I think it's from Psalm 139. You want him to search your heart. And then you want to ask God for help and for courage to end this unhealthy, toxic attachment. So you want to be gracious when you do it. You don't want to call them names. You don't want to be accusatory. You can talk truth if you find out that, yes, they have constantly said things that are very hurtful, and you just can't have that. You just can't continue like that. And maybe you talked to them about it before, again and again. I'm sorry, but they do it again. It's not healthy. And I know one of the things I did, I said, well, I will continue to pray for you, but I just can't keep praying with you. I can't be with you like that because I keep getting attacked by you. But I love you. But, we can't do this. We can't do this. So you're essentially breaking up with them. And sometimes the sooner you do that, the sooner a healthy person can come into that spot. But if you insist on keeping it, you're just going to keep going down, going down. So it's a hard thing. You have agreed not to take vengeance on them. Don't do that. You're not going to hold unforgiveness towards them. If you're having problems with forgiving them, you're going to get help, praying in the safety of there's safety in the presence of many counselors, things like that. But you can't walk together because you're not in agreement. There's no mutual respect. There's attacking of dignity. They prefer their money, their power over you so much so that they'd either steal an idea from you or crush you. No, you can't walk in peace. You can't dwell beside your neighbor in peace and safety when they're acting like that. So there has to be an ending or a huge boundary.
This has been such a great conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much from you. But one thing that I would like for you to do as we get ready to close today is give our listeners that one word of encouragement that you have for them. Maybe they're in this place right now and they're in a friendship that's toxic or harmful. They've heard everything you had to say. What's that one word of encouragement to help that woman today?
I would say put all of your hope in God and know that God sees. He sees what's happening to you. No one's going to get away with anything. God can rebuild you. He wants to make you savvy, wise. Please ask for wisdom. God will give you wisdom. He'll heal you, but you ask for wisdom and he'll give it to you.
I think that's perfect advice. I love that. Thank you so much. How can those listening and watching today, how can they reach you? How can they find all of your resources, all the things?
Well, my website is www.thinkvitality.com, Think Vitality, THINK, vitality.com. Or you can email me at Camille@thinkvitality.com. And Camille is 1 M, 2 L's, Camille@thinkvitality.com. I'm not really big into social media. I have an Instagram at Camille Gallinger. I'm the person who's going to write you a letter, send you a card. I'm not so much into social media.
Fantastic. I'll make sure all of that is in the show notes for you. So thank you for that. And thank you for your willingness to come back. Listeners and watchers, I'm going to make sure we get her scheduled again for season 4, where we're talking about all things wellness. So be sure to tune in then. And Camille, thank you so much for taking time today to talk to us. I have so enjoyed getting to know you and I've learned so much today.
It's an honor to be on your podcast. I've listened to several of your podcasts. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being a true supporter to the women of God and people who will soon be women of God. Thank you for being real.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And listeners, until next time. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Juggling Life Finding Balance podcast. If you've enjoyed today's show, please leave us a 5-star review and a comment on how it's blessed you. And please come visit me on my website, viviancumins.com, where you can get your free Restoring Balance study guide and more resources that will help you move that needle from busy to balanced. Until next time, be blessed and stay balanced.